What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Winner Circle, or should I say welcome to the Winner Circle, because this is the first ever version of this stream where I'm going to be bringing people that are in the community that have amazing mindsets, amazing strategies, that are winning strategies, and bringing them here on stream so that way we can all talk, we can all learn together. So on that note, I have our inaugural guest for the first of many Winner Circles streams. I have the man that has been around the community for a few years now. He has made his name stamped into the community. He is an asset. He is an amazing human, smart as hell. I can't believe this is the first time you've been on my podcast or on my stream, and it hasn't been sooner than this. So without further ado, get on up here, Max. Thanks, brother. I'm so glad to have you here.
Dude, great to be here. And yeah, man, it's quite an intro. I appreciate it. Not sure I deserve all of it, but I definitely, I love talking to you too. Like I said, but even before stream, I'm already planning the next one to have you on to talk, mindset, crypto, and everything. All these important topics that I feel like there's only a few people in the ecosystem that I'm comfortable like going deep diving with, and you're one of them, man. So excited to be here. Glad. Thanks for having me.
Well, I appreciate that, and right back at you. So, which is why I'm super excited for this. So, we've got an amazing agenda that we're going to go over today. And before we get into that, though, I'm just going to welcome everyone in real quick because I'm seeing we got about 25 people in here. I'm seeing some very familiar names. We got UFO to go, always in here. Alan, always in here. You guys are awesome. Some new names: Fox Muldar, Daniel Ortega. I've seen you in here before. I've seen you floating around, my friend. Good to have everybody here. We got the Sloth. I think he actually beat us here, so he's like actually on time today. That's amazing.
He usually, it must be opposite day. It must be the May 4th deal. That's not usual for him. He's usually very late.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, man,
extremely
appreciate you being
late.
Here on time.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sloth.
He must be using a VPN. It's that slow. That makes him slower.
I'll let you two hash that one out.
Hashtag VPN
Furu.
joke. Yeah.
Welcome, Furu. Good to have you here, man. We got Wakanda, Godfather J6, Naeem, Jake Sharp. What about him? We got everybody in here. Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing all the familiar names. Ron Purvey, Crypto Surfer. Amazing to have all you guys here. It's going to be an awesome stream. Probably going to go about hour and a half. We'll see how it goes. But let's start off because you've never been on the channel before. So I really wanted to, and I'm not sure, I know a lot of the guys who are going to be, or the guys and gals who are going to be in chat today are probably going to know you, and you're probably going to know them. But for the people who don't know you and who haven't seen you or haven't had the pleasure of being on your channel to see all the content that you also have, let's introduce you, if you're willing, to them and get everyone up to speed. So
yeah,
where I'd love to start is kind of what led to crypto, because everyone's got a really interesting story about how they got to crypto, and what led you here? Was it like your career? Was it like your values? Like what, and if you could outline that too, like what started you on the path towards crypto and what ultimately got you to where you are today?
It's a really good question. One I don't think a lot about because it's been so long. I've been following Richard for 6 years now. I think I got into crypto maybe 6 months before I found him. That was one of the luckiest things that ever happened to me.
And when was that? Would that have been like 2019 you found Richard?
2017.
2017. Oh, wow. You were early on Richard.
Yeah. So part of the intro too, you were talking about, that's the unique part too, is like, I've been following Richard forever. I was CFD token, go to hex.win, all that stuff, Bitcoin Maxi, watching all those streams. But I've only been public in the community for maybe over a year, maybe 18 months or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of like unique thing about there's a lot of unique things about my brand, no monetization, blah, blah. I'm sure we'll get in parts of that as well. But the funny thing is, like, some people say, oh, Hex OG, and like, you can define that a bunch of different ways. And actually, the length of time you're in it, is it that, or is it how much Hex you actually have? I think there's a bunch of funny things around that too, but it's interesting where I've been around Richard so long, but I haven't been around the community nearly as long as I've been watching him and watching from afar. And what got me into that, or what got me to come out and start doing a stream and all that stuff is just Richard's like, have utility. People ask him, what can I do in the community? Well, how can I help? And he's like, just have utility. Whatever skills you have, like, go contribute those towards the community. And that's what I've been trying to do with, I had no streaming skills before. That was just purely like everyone else is doing it. It can't be that hard, right? Like, I feel like I can jump in there too. And then of course, my professional skills and being in big tech for a long time and coding and security and all that stuff too. But as far as I got into crypto, I don't know. I think, for a long time, I've been a pretty solid pragmatic style libertarian. So that was definitely a draw to me, having the money, sound money, and especially in speculative instrument form, where you can not only have money to transact freely, you can get rich while doing it. So that was definitely a draw to me. Yeah, the technology side, I always thought, Ethereum world computer was fascinating, even though at the time I started, heard about Richard at a party. A friend of mine was like, "Hey, have you heard Richard Hart? He says Ethereum's got all this attack surface and, he's a Bitcoin maxi guy." I'm like, really? I think it seems fine. That's how I actually started watching his videos and got into all this stuff. So the technology, I guess the libertarian part, and yeah, I think around that time, I've been on this health, wealth, wisdom journey for the last maybe 3 years or so. But even before that, I was kind of like, I want to think I had this feeling of, I don't want to work forever. Like, I never knew how I was going to do it, but I knew I was going to retire early. I knew I was going to be rich. I knew that I could build wealth. I just had to figure out how to do it and surround myself with the people and the type of community that's all for it. Which is, again, couldn't be luckier to come across this group of gaggly wealth seekers and everyone in between as well. So yeah, I think just the freedom part is definitely very important to me. The technology part is very interesting, and hey, I don't want to have a boss anymore. I'm tired of working for people. I'm tired of people telling me, we'll get into talk about Naval and stuff too. But one of my favorite quotes is he talks about, he's like, "I don't care how rich you are. If somebody can tell you, where to be, what to do, how to dress, you're not really rich. You're not a free person, something of that sort." And that spoke to me, and I was like, man, that is what I aspire to. I aspire to be out of the rat race. I aspire to build wealth and not just go to the beach and sit around all day, but do something with it, like be a force for good in the world. And so many of the values align from this community and the man himself that I decided, hey, if I am going to get into streaming, if I'm going to be public at the community, I was literally trying to think of, like, how can I express that and keep it to the principles and stuff that I value the most. And it was RHMAX. I was like, that's who I want to talk about. That's who I want to promote. I love the ideals. I love the products. I love the longevity research, all these different verticals. I want to pigeonhole myself on purpose. I don't want to look at any other ecosystem, as a serious investment, all that stuff. I want to promote and support this one because I think it's the best. I think it has the best values, the most potential. I love the people. It was very intentional, and everything I do, I try to be very intentional with it. It's not like I'm some naive person of like, "Oh, you're really losing all the money. Might as well take a cut by monetizing." I understand the trade-offs. So yeah, I think that's being mission driven has been very important to me since day one. And crypto it's one of those things that it allows you to be yourself, to be free, and to help others in so many different ways. And like, if you're going to do something in this world, like, you don't have to be a great man, but if you're able to make an impact in other people's lives positively, I think that's a baseline. You're able to, like, retire your mom or pay your dad's house off, stuff like that, or, help some family member, like, who's struggling, and they're not going to, like, you got to be careful with that one. They may, like, keep coming back to you for money.
Right.
You're able to do, like, these amazing things because you made some set of choices that got you there, and generational wealth, all that stuff. Why not? Why wouldn't you choose to do that? So that's why I'm here.
Totally. And I think it's really cool that you saw, like, basically heard Richard, loved what he was saying, and took it as like a personal task to try and add value to that too. And what I wanted to ask you on that front, there's a lot we talked about in there, like value stuff and talking about the Naval, and I want to leave that for a little later. So I really want to find out, like, you talked about, like, bringing utility, and you said you didn't stream, so you had to learn that. So, like, what was the big utility that you felt that you could bring to the community? Just in whatever facet it looked like. What was that utility?
I have a certain set of skills professionally. Luckily, I've got paid to learn and to develop different skills in tech. I'm not a developer, but I can code. You know, I'm by no means a professional developer, and in my industry, I would not qualify for that. I would not pass the interview. I would come close, but I wouldn't pass it, and I wouldn't want to be anyways because it's not my thing. Yeah, that part of it, technology, I'm able to. I mean, my whole career, I've just been able to research, basically R&D, like research and develop. Like, here's a topic, go figure out all you can about it, and then write code for it, write a paper, write, you know, understand how it works. Breaking down complex topics into simple things, I think translates so well for this community, and that's what I've been doing forever. So that's why I started the blog.
Can I interrupt for a sec? Because I want to ask you on that note as well. Like, how do you go about learning like that? Like, how do you go breaking a complex topic down into simple terms so that you can then go and bring that out onto blog format or put it in your videos? Because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is figuring out how to learn. So like, how do you learn? Especially because you have the background, you've basically had to do that your career, right? So
yeah, what
was that for you? How did you learn?
Good question. Yeah, it's essentially, so if I'm trying to learn something, so when I was trying to be a validator, for example, I went and I just basically poured myself into just every video. There's actually not a lot of content out there. Funny enough, there's not a lot of like, how does blockchain work? What does validating mean? Like there's these esoteric, like, oh, if you're in the club, you kind of know what they're talking about. But coming from tech, a lot of a lot of concepts translate, but a lot of them are just like very nuanced. And if you don't, you know, what does the client do? Richard started tweeting about Aragon and stuff, and I'd never even heard of them before. So that's where I started. I was like, okay, what are the clients? What do they do? How do they interact with each other? And now we got the complication of ETH1 versus ETH2. Like, oh my God, now there's a consensus client, and now there's parts of that program that do, there's a beacon client and a validator client. And it's like, there's so many layers of complexity. So for one, I just deep dive into whatever topic it is and just keep going until like I feel like I've mastered it. And master it in a way. So how do you define mastering? So not mastered as in I could teach a graduate class on it, although you can get to that point, and I probably am in certain verticals. But master it in a way where you can write a blog on it, that you are confident enough, you've tested enough times, you've explored the different scenarios and different nuances and edge cases. And I'm sure you come over this when you're doing videos, and because I mean, I'm actually jealous of all the game theory guys like you and Sloth and everybody else. I'm like, I don't know how you guys go that deep in certain things, because that's like, you know, this is, again, I built a career doing it, but it's still hard for me to like, you know, add all those pieces together and then come up with the numbers and stuff you guys produce. So once you're able to test it a bunch of times and figure out all the edge cases, and then from there, it's like, okay, what would be useful from this? Do I need to write a script, like automation? Like, is it just a bunch of commands you type in? If it is, that's a clear case for a script. You know, how do you add value with that research? Is it creating a blog post to explain it to someone? Is it creating a code base on GitHub to help them install it? Is it doing an AMA, doing a like, hey, I know about this topic, come ask me about it? Those types of things. So it is research, go deep, then figure out from that information, what is the most valuable thing you can produce, whether it's code or blog or a stream or whatever it is, and then get the information out there and make it of high quality. That's something that's probably like one, you know, we talked about superpowers the other day a little bit. And it's like different things people are good at, that are uniquely good at more than other people. And that's something that I've kind of honed over time too, is when I produce a script, I produce guidance or whatever, I'm nervous. Like I know you probably felt the same way when you produce videos and stuff like that. It's like, I want to sleep good at night. I want to go to bed, and, you know, I have the affirmation, like, each day is complete in and of itself. I don't want to be saying that, you know, when I'm working on some project, because, you know, how do I avoid saying that? I test it in all different scenarios. I test it on a, you know, I try to break it. I try to steel man it, straw man it. I try to like come at it from different perspectives and understand how, I guess, how could I be wrong? So there's so much confirmation bias. People do research. Oh, is Bitcoin going to 100K? That's confirmation bias. Don't search for that. Yeah. You want to be like, you know, if you're going to do something like that, for example, search for, you know, what is the maximum value of Bitcoin? You know, those kind of simple questions. Why is Bitcoin going to zero? Take that guy's information. Why is it going to 100K? And then come up with, here are the key points for each one. Sounds like a ChatGPT prompter to me at this point. And then synthesize it from there, but be objective. And yeah, you got to get rid of all those, a lot of the confirmation bias and a lot of the just bad information that you get from only looking at one side of things. So yeah, that's how I've that's kind of like, again, been part of my job for a long time, is to come up with the ground truth. Not, that's like, it kind of all leads to my brand, my channel. I'm not a hopium channel. I don't give you all these crazy price predictions, all that stuff. I'm here to like have these open, honest discussions about things I think are interesting. And I want to be the person who wants to tune into my own channel. I want to be the person who wants to go back and rewatch my videos. Like, oh yeah, that was such a good conversation. I don't want to just produce the clickbait stuff. Anyone can do that. Like, do the hard thing. That's what's always in my mind. Do the hard thing. And then I think in the long run, you'll be rewarded for it.
Mm-hmm. And I think you do that so well. And it reflects like it's been slower in terms of like, the growth of your channel, but at the same time, now look at how much it's compounding, how much it's growing quickly. You're up to like, what are you close to 6,000 subscribers now?
Yeah. Almost 6K.
Like no clickbait, no nothing. Just this is what we're talking about. Great conversation. Boom. And I think it's a major testament to your channel. And also for me, well, when I hear you talk about that and I have the verified, like, we've watched your videos, we've seen you over the last while, like, we've come to know you, and to hear that and to be able to verify that in your videos, and then also piece that back to, okay, well, you look at like Hex, you look at Pulsechain, you look at PulseX, Icosa, Hedron, this ecosystem, and you have such a balanced way of looking at things. And I think, that's a testament to the ecosystem itself. When someone like yourself has that balanced perspective and still looks at Hex and all these things, or all these tokens or coins, as something that's going to be highly successful in the future. So even like you've had this for a while now, I'm assuming this balanced perspective where you have almost like contrarian viewpoint, or every time you have a biased viewpoint that you're trying to contrast it with something else. You've had this for a while, right?
I think a lot of that started during my I call it health, wealth, wisdom journey over like maybe 3 years ago. I started deep diving into, so when I come across somebody that I like a lot, that I feel like I can learn from, I basically just go nuts into all their material. Give me all their podcasts, give me all their streams, give me all their books. I want to read and I want to consume everything they have, because I want to get their best ideals and see if I like them and adopt them if I do like them. And if I don't like them, understand, am I missing something? Like, is it a deficiency on me? Do I need to go research some more? Like, are they worth it? All that type of stuff. So Naval, as you mentioned before, is, one of my favorite guys in the world. Learned a lot from Richard, of course, and Sci-Vibe and stuff. Peter Thiel. That's who came to mind when you said contrarian. Peter Thiel, one of the greatest investors ever. Awesome libertarian, awesome free thinker guy. Got a lot of cool books and materials and stuff. He gets a lot of political lately, but I think even when he gets political, it's very like objective and very much like, this is my ground truth and this is how I think the world should work. And like, it's like, you don't have to take him 100% straight. You can take it. Let's see, what's the phrase? Don't, because he said this about Trump before too. He was like, don't take him literally, take him seriously. I think you can apply that to so many different people. You don't need to take all these ideas that people say literally. You can just kind of like, synthesize and get what means something to you out of it, and that can improve your life. Anyways, Peter Thiel, awesome guy to learn from. And Alex Hormozy, Jake actually turned me on to him. Yeah. Then I was like, for the last 6 to 8 months, I've been consuming all of Alex Hormozy, read his book. Listen to the audiobook, same thing. Listen to like hours and hours of him on YouTube. The guy's amazing. So, there's so many different ways they're complementary. And I've talked about this with Ben Dubart as well, of like, we've had like literally streams on Alex, Richard, and Naval. And those are the three people, and Peter Thiel, of course, as well, that I've learned the most from in the world, especially the past few years. And that's gave me that contrarian point of view. Again, contrarian is not like taking the opposite side of every bet. That's just being the opposite, I guess. Contrarian is thinking from reality, not society, seeing something that everyone's doing and questioning whether that is the right thing, or it's just everyone just happen to be doing it and there's opportunity taking the other side of it. So all those different nuances, especially spoke to me since I've been in tech for a long time. He was big into startups. That's where, he was one of the first outside investors in Facebook. He did the IRA thing, money genius, all that good stuff. So yeah, I think learning from people who are great in a lot of different verticals, like being multidisciplinary, mental models, I think we'll get into that a little bit later too, is just, it gives you so much more. It makes you powerful. It really does. Like, it makes you a powerful thinker, a powerful human being, when you can take the best ideas from all the disciplines and all the best people in the world who are killing it and whatever they're doing, and adopt them and make them mean something to you, and use them in your life. Like, that is something I found that has just profoundly made me a better person the last few years.
Yeah, and I need to actually take into account the mental models into my perspective and do some more reading on that, because you've mentioned that numerous times now, and I think hearing you say just how profound it's been, I'm gonna take a look at it. I'm gonna see. I try to be balanced, but I obviously know I have blind spots and I have all sorts of stuff going on in my psyche that you know doesn't allow me to see the big picture, at all times, or the full picture. So I think that's gonna be powerful for me, and anyone else that wants to check that out, go ahead as well. Do you have, for the mental models, just really quick before we go off on a tangent on that? What is, or who wrote the book that you're referring to in terms of mental models?
So there's a few different books, but just in general, Charlie Munger kind of, I think, what was he doing, a speech or something? He may be credited for coining the phrase. But mental model, I mean, I think once you go down the rabbit hole, I think you would love it too. It's one of those things where they're just ways of thinking about the world. And one of my first blog posts, let's see, care if I share the screen? I can put it
Yeah,
up on
go
the
for it,
screen.
for sure.
I'll just put it up there just to go through a couple, because I think it'll be useful as examples. Because I don't know, it's like every time I say mental models, everyone's like, oh, what? I don't know, I've never heard of that before. But everyone has, you just haven't classified them in that way yet. So compound interest is a mental model. The anti-fragility, the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle, all those are mental models. So let me share the screen so it'll make more sense. So this is a blog post. Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat. Am I a mod? Can I drop it in the chat? Let's see.
I think so. Let me just bounce out of
That
the
work?
full screen here.
If not,
What do
if not, I'll put it in private chat and you can post it.
I'll grab that real quick and just toss it. I don't know. It should work, but
yeah.
Anywho,
So
I'll toss it in right now.
This is mental models. I said from the king, so from Richard. And yeah, mental model is just a way to work, think about the world and better understand reality, how things actually work. So a lot of it comes from, Naval's got a bunch. Charlie Munger is just a master of this stuff. I've learned a lot from him too. I should throw him in the discussion with Hormozy and the rest of the guys. And actually, I bought, a lot of people, we'll get into this a little bit later. They're like, they don't want to spend money on anything. And again, I don't have any ref links, I don't have any affiliates, but I bought these mental models and I went through it comes with the audiobook. It comes with all the reading material, all the examples and stuff. I will pay money to buy things that I think improve me and help me learn and get better at stuff. And this is the only thing I actually bought. Let's see. I guess I bought a couple audiobooks on mental models too, but it's not like there's one book that just has them all. I mean, we could make new mental models today. They're literally just things that help you reason about the world, and they're roughly true based on some scenario that kind of like shows how useful they are. Mm-hmm. So 80-20 rule, 80% of the profit comes from 20% of the work. That's like a very common one people talk about. Anti-fragility, Nassim Taleb, another great person to learn stuff from, describes systems which are geared to benefits from stress, such as your muscles. They get stronger the more you work them out. Businesses that get hit with stuff, they either fail or they come back even stronger because they learn from their mistakes. There's black swan events and all kinds of stuff there. Artificial deadlines is like one. It's like, even though you must get back to me within 24 hours, even though that's not really true, but people see a deadline, so they're more likely to get back to you. That's like another thing you can use to help you get stuff done in life. Asymmetric risk. I know everyone's familiar with that, or should be. How you can, you can invest $10 and you can make 1,000, but if you only lose $10 and that's all that's lost. Compound interest, of course, critical mass, game theory. Even game theory is some kind of mental model. It is like cool. the study of choice and optimal behavior. So Gresham's law, a lot of these, Richard, I think literally all of these, I think Richard has talked about in one form or another. And yeah, I guess that's why I did the blog post. Schelling point, you've heard him say that before, I'm sure. Tragedy of the Commons, he's talked about that a million times. So there we go. I'll put Hart's Law in here. I think that could be a mental model as well. So there's hundreds of them, and it's kind of like, how many are there? There's not really an answer for how many there are. It's just how many ones do people talk about and find useful, and have they went through the effort to categorize and for example, the on wisdom theory, you know, there's 100 different ones they go through. I'm sure there's probably a few different more. 100's kind of the marketing thing. But learning these, studying these, trying to understand them and how they apply in my life and how I can use them to be successful in different verticals has just been, I feel like it's given me a leg up against, you know, the competition out there, if that makes sense. So
Totally.
yeah, I think it'd be up your alley if you ever want to just like deep dive into different material talking about this stuff. Cause it's, especially if you're studying game theory, like you could probably create some more mental models yourself just out of the stuff you've been looking at.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be checking that out. I mean, like I was saying in the green room there, I've finally got like an office space, which you guys can see in the background. So this is going to be my home for the next 2 months that I'm going to be able to come in and just go hard on the content, also go hard on the studying
Nice.
and be able to level up as well. So I am very excited about that. And so this is something that's definitely going to be on the agenda coming up. But on that subject too, I know I want to get to validators soon. I see a couple questions piling in or coming in on the validator subject. Before we get there, I do want to talk about the whole ecosystem real quick, in reference to these mental models. So why were you and are you so convicted on the ecosystem, you know, using these mental models, using everything you've learned? Why the ecosystem? Why Pulsechain? Why Hex? Why PulseX? Why all this stuff? Why do you believe so much that's going to succeed in the way that you do?
You know, there's a few different ways you can come at this question. I think the one that maybe the most profound that I can just simply start with is designed to be that way. It is literally designed, you know, it doesn't mean the code says you're going to get rich. Design means it is set up in a way that makes it hard for it not to work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what, I mean, it's, you know, started with Hex. That laid the groundwork for let's build this ecosystem that just is made to be this, you know, appreciating asset. You stick it, you get more, bigger, longer pays better. Just all those different mechanics, all those pumpamentals. Like we literally coined the word pumpamentals. I say it
cool.
sometimes to other people, and they're like, "What's pumpamental?" I'm like, "Gosh, okay, never mind."
It's like pumpamentals and tokenomics. I love those two words.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they feel so natural. You don't even think that we were pioneers in the area. I mean, sacrifice phases. Who was doing sacrifice phases? Like all these things add up to an ecosystem that encourages you to play healthy games. Now that there'll always be scams, always be people coming in trying to cheat and do something that's outside of the bounds of what, you know, the foundational principles are. However, you're gonna have that anywhere. It's like just in government, all right? You have different governments with different values and they have different rules and people still cheat. That's a thing. That's something, you know, that there's a threshold of so much the system can handle that type of stuff and still thrive.
Mm-hmm.
So this ecosystem in particular, if you design something that you get people to play healthy games, it's you care about price appreciation. It's okay to talk about price appreciation, not in a toxic way, but in a, hey, if you know, there's a fair way to make a lot of wealth here. And it's not about, you know, sitting on the other side trying to take the other person's money. It's not about that. You can play that game. It's available, but the game that you want to play is the delayed gratification, is the ability to control yourself, control your emotions, and use the tools available to make sure you don't sell your money printers. And that's what's been foundational. And that's why I say, you know, I love Hedron, I love the ecosystem. And a lot of people have no problem using HSIs. However, for me, that is one of the things I love the most about native stakes is I can't be tempted, because if I do 5555, I do, you know, what was it, 3650 or whatever the tenure is. If I do that, I have to wait at least half the time before I can get any of my principal back. And then I need to make a decision. It holds you accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
It gives you, it doesn't lock you. I mean, it does lock you in for a certain period of time, but after that period of time, it is up to you as a person who controls your own money. You're your own bank. It allows you, it gives you the freedom to make those kinds of choices and live with consequences, good or bad. Mm-hmm. So I've just never seen, I mean, in Bitcoin and Ethereum and you know, I used to dabble in all the coins when I first got in crypto before Hex existed. I was, you know, trading. I was doing all the degen stuff. I was, hey, let's get in this, sell at this point, all this stuff. I've been doing it for years and years, like what, 6-7 years now. And this is the ecosystem that I'm like, I don't need anything else. Everything, I don't wish nothing else existed, and I wish everything else well. Mm-hmm. But I only have so much time and consciousness. I only have so much energy. I only have so much of me to put into something. And if I'm going to choose where I'm going to put me into it, it's going to be the place with best ROI that has the fairest games, the trustless interest, the trustless everything, to a certain extent, some projects more than others. I'm going to put in a place that where my time is well spent and that I can actually, be the best version of myself. It enables me to do that. It gives me the tools to do that. And that's why it's, designed from the ground up to be this healthy, awesome ecosystem. And I wish more people saw it. I think it's a tragedy that more people focus on the OA and focus on just stuff that does not matter. Like, I love the way Richard talks about it too. He's like, people ask him a million times, I watched a million of the streams, and he's just like, it doesn't affect you. It does not affect you. Like you see the track record, it has not hurt you. It's only helped you. So, it's amazing. I thought for a moment you were putting a Pulsechain just launched mainnet. I was about to flip out.
No, okay, no, I would not have been subtle about that. I would have been just like,
let me just slide this in real quick. Like, he'll finish in a moment.
I'll let you guys just finish the sentence, and then we'll do the other thing. No, but on that note, seriously, like, the cool thing is, though, with everything you just said, is that people are finding out about it. People are becoming aware about it. And I mean, look at this, for example. This is just TikTok alone. Richard Hart hashtag has 40 million views. Pulsechain, 36 million. Richard Hart clips, just clips of Richard Hart, for like 500,000. That's crazy. Like, that's so cool. And then let's go to one more. I have another one here. Let's go to this literally is a tweet.
Make myself a note right now to post more TikToks. I'm like, all right, this is the time to get back in it, because I was doing a lot, and now I'm like, all right, I'm riding this bandwagon. Let's do it.
Yeah, I just started posting them as well. I just started my first one today in a while because I now have a space. So yeah, I'm on it too, and I think that's an important avenue because of how many views are going through TikTok alone. Like, it's crazy. And then you look at Pulsechain on freaking Twitter, 1 million tweets the other, like, literally, when was this? May 3rd. So yesterday, it was 1 million tweets. Now, if I go to another one, I have one final tweet that I'm going to pull up here. This one's from yours truly. I couldn't find, I think there was a couple others that were floating around that maybe had a better picture. But look at this. Mainnet and Richard Hart trending, and 1.7 million tweets on something that hasn't launched yet. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm not sharing my screen, right? That's why
you weren't, but you were very confident, and I liked it.
I was extremely confident. Let me try that one more time. I'm hoping I can have the same conviction for round 2 here. Okay. Look at this. Richard Hart win and Mainnet both trending. I almost can't do it again without laughing. But seriously, like, almost 2 million tweets. And it was actually, I think it got a little higher than this yesterday, but this is insane. Like, when has there ever been a community and then a peripheral group of people that have been aware of the community and why the community exists and what's coming than this? I don't know if I've ever heard of it. And I mean, like, mind you, I'm going to go and put the big old caveat here of like, hey, I have not put in the time to research every damn community, every damn chain, and compare all the data. But I mean, I've never heard anyone speak about a launch of a certain blockchain and the crazy community that was already behind it before it even launched. I don't know about you. Like, have you ever heard of that?
No, I've never seen anything that has blown up and just taking. I mean, it was funny. Last year we were at PulseCon, and it was like, all right, where's the vaporware jokes? Come on, where are they at? And it's funny how, like, people are so excited, and like, why? I want to ask you too, like, why is that? Why are people this excited?
I think it's an amazing question. I think we're at a point where everyone's been kind of watching and aware, at least for the most part, of Hex and Pulsechain, and especially Richard, I would even say, because love it or hate it, the way he has been marketing himself and putting himself on the internet to be noticed over the past year, it's been dynamic, and he's basically, I would go out and say he has placed himself in people's minds rent-free, and so whether you love or hate a guy, if he's coming out with something that could possibly be an opportunity for you, you're probably still going to pay attention. You're going to be aware of him. You're going to be watching it, and you're going to be curious, and if you see, imagine you walk up, I'm going to try and paint a little metaphor here, but imagine you walk up to a park and there's a center kind of, there's a structure there and it just says free gold, right? Or even crazy opportunity, right? Opportunity of a lifetime. You're going to look at that and you're going to be like, I don't know. And you're probably going to walk past it and maybe never look at it again.
Mm-hmm.
But if you see a sign that says crazy opportunity on it, and the entire park, which is almost the size of a football field, is full of people in line, and someone's talking on a microphone and getting people hyped up, you're going to take notice and you're going to be like, what's going on here? And, I think that's the effect that is happening with Pulsechain right now. There's like, you cannot ignore their community and the people that are talking about it and the products that are coming to the network too. You got 160 projects additionally, aside from the Richard Hart core, that are coming and counting literally by the day. It seems like, more stuff's coming to the network. And so you've just got this crazy onslaught potentially of opportunities that I've never heard anyone talk about before in crypto. And who knows, right? No, it's not necessarily trying to beat Bitcoin. It's not trying to beat Ethereum. It's not trying to do any of those things. But I think just consequently with the amount of hype, you start to see, holy crap, there's a lot of people in this. This thing could really do well. This ecosystem could really do well. A number of these tokens could really do well. And so I think you're kind of forced into it. But
I think that's the key point. It's so good, you can't ignore it. Like, everyone should strive to be or do something or be associated with something like that. Be associated with something that is so profoundly good that people can't ignore it. Whether they love it or hate it, they can't ignore it. They must participate because it's in their best interest too. That's the key part.
100% agree with that. And I want to keep this going because I have, we could go on the philosophical side real quick. I know we've already pretty much been there, but I do want to make sure that we get to the validator side of things, talk a little bit about what's currently going on in the ecosystem. So I want to take a quick pause on the philosophical side. And I want to ask you about validators because I've had a lot of people ask me about doing it. And is it difficult? Is it worthwhile? Do I need to know a lot? What, for all the people that are curious and that, are at, let's say, an entry level in technical prowess and knowledge, or even program literacy, who should get involved as a validator? How hard is it? What are the costs involved roughly? And even yield, if assuming maybe what we're seeing right now on testnet in terms of the validator rewards, if you could put that all together, that'd be amazing.
Yeah. So a few different parts. Tackle the first one of should you be a validator? It's a question. I think it's a very good question. It's something that a lot of people are asking themselves where they get halfway through and they say, oh, should I be a validator once they get into it? So I think I would set expectations. So it's different today than what it will be in the future. I want to preface it that today we're at the frontier. We're at myself and other people are trying to automate and help and write guides and code and stuff to make it easier. But we're at the frontier. You need to set up your own hardware. You need to know how to do networking. You need to know how to at least run scripts, if not run commands. You need to know command line. A lot of these I take for granted. I mean, for me, it's like tying my shoes, knowing how to change permissions on a file. I've been doing it for most of my life, I guess I could say. So for me, a lot of it I take for granted, and then you get people who come in and they have all these questions, and me and God bless Gamma, he is tech support, and him and David Feeder both have been trying to help a lot of people with these questions that are just they kind of ask questions sometimes where, and again, I'm the one that says there's no stupid questions. However, when you're asking questions that are like, if you can't run a command in the terminal, you probably shouldn't be a validator. You have to be able to run commands and understand at least kind of what you're doing before, or else you're just going to be lost. You're going to be frustrated. It's just not going to be a good experience. It's not that you can't be one. It's that you're just going to have a hard time. And then you're going to be asking for help. You're going to get frustrated when people get tired of answering questions, blah, blah, blah. So I would say baseline, you need to learn, or you need to know a little bit about technology before you start trying to become a validator. Now that's today. However, in the next 6 months to a year, I hope, 2 more weeks, 2 more months, we hope there'll be more plug and play products produced by people in the community. Alex from Hedron has talked about a plug and play router type of box of, hey, you do a setup in the web UI, and if you can imagine that, how easy that would be to get to help further decentralize the network and get people set up correctly. And all that is like, why wouldn't it come? Why wouldn't it be there? I mean, Feeder's got validatorstore.com and stuff now and all that too. However, today to become a validator, it's not easy. It's not easy unless you're very familiar with technology. And just to give you an example of like how not easy it was for not having a background in this, I started in, I want to say January, February. I started learning this stuff. I started deep diving and figuring out how to do it myself on Ethereum testnet. And I was very frustrated. I was like, how is this stuff doesn't make sense? How does this work? Oh my gosh, there's so many moving parts. What, all this different things. It took me, someone who's been in tech professionally, who's very good at computering, if I might say so myself, it took me a long time to wrap my head around how this stuff works and able to come up with the commands and learn from other people and write code that automates it. So if you're not at least vaguely familiar how to use command line, how to use Linux, networking, stuff like that, it's going to be a struggle. So if you're prepared for that struggle and you want to take it head on and you want to put in the time and energy, then maybe it's for you. However, if you're not, then just know what you're getting into beforehand. Don't rely on other people, to be around to ask questions and stuff, unless you want to pay for some consulting, which I don't do, but I know, I think Feeder and Gamma both do that. So get ready to take some classes or class yourself, educate yourself, because it's not easy.
So it sounds like the less you know, the more you pay, because you need to either pay for someone's time to coach you through it, or if you don't know, if you don't necessarily need to coach you through it because you have like a script or something that you could plug and play, you'll probably need some kind of support for if something goes wrong in the future, because you won't have any idea how to cover it on top of the hardware and everything else.
Yeah. So it's, I'll just, if you don't mind, share my screen. And this is what and I'll put this in private chat just in case, and you can post it. I assume that I can't post it, so I'll just let you post it. But this has been one of my contributions to the community over all the stuff I've learned, is to help make it easier. I think that these scripts, you still need to know how to run scripts. You still need to know how to run commands and command line, but they take a lot of the heavy lifting out of it because, excuse me, because they allow you to do the minimum. Because if, I'll just open this one real quick. So, and a lot of this is like extra script stuff too, but if you had to type in all these commands and make sure they were correct yourself, it would be a lot of work and you'd need to have a lot of knowledge to even get through it. However, if you can run a script, and honestly, I don't believe that you need to know exactly how every piece works. Like, I don't think, I think there's some mindset too that's like, oh, you need to type in the commands manually to understand how this stuff works. And I'm like, well, like, that's like saying, and it's not exactly the same, but the parallel is like, well, you don't need a web browser. You just need to like run the HTTP protocol commands yourself, so you'll know how websites work. It's like, I think code is fine. I don't know. Of course, you're not gonna, if you do the commands, each one by yourself, you're gonna learn more. But are you trying to learn what each command does and the nuance, or are you trying to get your validator set up? For me, right, I want to get my validator set up. And if I have problems, then we can kind of figure out what the commands do and stuff like that. So that's what I've tried to do here. I've tried to automate, I say just estimated 85% of the process of being a validator. You run really one script. You only have to run one script, and that's the setup script. And then you just do your staking deposit, and I have guidance on all that stuff. The README has grown so much. The wiki, I could affectionately refer to it has grown so much that I literally had to put a table of contents because there's so many sections now. But basically, you just run that script, and then you go to after running the script, and then you do your deposit on a different machine. I got all the commands. You do those manually, so it's not 100% manual. It's 85% estimated, and then you do your deposits. And you click some buttons on the web UI and go through that. But I think had my code and other people's code, Gamma scripts, David Feeder scripts, all this stuff, a lot of people in the community, TDS Lanes also wrote some scripts on it. Had these done exist, people would just be in Telegram, just like going back and forth forever on the same questions, which that's what I'm trying to avoid. I don't That's like one of my things too, is like I want to automate information if possible too. So instead of like you needing one-on-one tech support to set up a validator, as much as possible, if we can document the process and we can provide you /easy scripts that just, you put in the right parameters and it does most of it for you, that's gonna literally save human consciousness. It's gonna save time, frustration. I think it's helping people. I think that's what code does. Code, it's like technology. What's the definition of technology? You do more with less. What's the definition of code? Is like you waste less time, I guess. Like you've already did all the manual stuff through writing it down. So I forget what the other couple questions. Maybe you talk about APY. Is that one of them?
Yeah, but I also want to pause here.
Sure.
Because chat's been freaking out, and I've been trying to confirm, but I don't know if you've been seeing it, but we may have had a little bit of a crazy little update. So I am going to quickly just open up the Twitter that I need to here, and I'm just gonna try and find it and bring it up, and then we can talk about it, because holy moly, this is some big news potentially. Live breaking news.
Alan says, just went Telegram, no news there, no official launch yet. Breathe, deep breaths.
Yeah, but so it's not. This is why I didn't interrupt you. This is why I didn't just like flip tables and like go smash the frogs out of those squares over there and
what the hell
start yelling.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
But I think it's important we talk about it. So let's go through it right now real quickly, because this is a really cool update here. Let me just stop sharing.
Dude, I was live when V3 went live, and that was emotional AF. That was amazing. So
that was so cool to be there for that. That was amazing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's right.
Katie Pure Crypto, shout out to you, Katie. She's on every damn update. It's crazy. Like I don't know if she sleeps, if she stops looking at her computer screen, because she's always on it. So I'm gonna click on this image here, and can you break this down? Like what are we looking at here?
Well, great question. I've never seen this code before in my life, this commit. Let me see. So 3 hours ago, allow for increased Shanghai time with Pulsechain. Allow for increased Shanghai time. Okay, so Shanghai was the unlocking. That was the part of the Shanghai and Capella, which was the execution consensus updates that happened in order to enable withdrawals on Ethereum. And Pulsechain took that update in V4.
And Shanghai was for the execution and Capella was for the consensus layer, or do I have it backwards?
I believe that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So in this code is Shanghai time primordial. And then it says if, just reading the comments, if the primordial pulse fork is ahead, derive Shanghai rule from the. Okay. I don't, that's just a time. That's not I don't, again, I hesitate because I've got 30 seconds context here, but I don't.
Yeah.
So if we're doing them, so you can think of, I usually don't try to be strict with like snapshot versus fork, and all the people do, they get pissed off. Oh, it's not a snapshot, it's a fork. But I'm like, if the result is the same, effectively it's the same, but like you don't have to really think about it that much. But if you're looking at code like this, and if you're trying to look for things that are meaningful, you would look for a block height. And again, not much context here, but like there's like 168, 160, 13. Is that a block height, or is that looks like a timestamp to me? Rule from the Ethereum main step. Yeah, that looks like a timestamp.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a block height. So I don't think it's a block height. So if that were a block height, if that number or some number in code was a block height, then I may be freaking out. But that doesn't appear to be it to me. So I don't.
So
yeah. So
what does this signal to you then? What is this saying to you in terms of like where we're going, how close we are roughly, or like, how many inches closer we are with this update?
So funny enough, Go is like one of the languages that I've programmed in the least. I do. I mean, I have Python. I know it's like the one language they do the update in on this one. Go and Rust are like the two that I've had the least experience programming. So I can understand what's going on, and they're calling functions, they're checking IDs, they're doing comparisons, but the primordial pulse fork is ahead, derive from the Ethereum mainnet Shanghai timestamp.
It's interesting.
I mean, they're talking about Shanghai. That's the thing that keeps throwing me off, and me not thinking it's like a big deal because they're talking about Shanghai. Unless they're forking, again, this is pure speculation. I'm just throwing like whatever's on top of my head out here. Unless the block height is going to be at the time of the Shanghai fork, which I've always thought that the block height would be something close to when mainnet launches, and it wouldn't be weeks beforehand like it would be if we went off the Shanghai. I find that hard to believe. So I don't have a lot of context for what the code is doing, because this is just a 6-line snippet change that they added into this one particular file in Golang. But I don't think it has to do with the fork height. I could be wrong, but just seeing this for the first time, fireworks aren't going off my head. I'll say that.
Right. Gotcha. And that's kind of the consensus that I'm seeing from people on Twitter. I'm just kind of quickly taking a quick gander at anyone that's maybe retweeted or made any comments on it or anything like that. So I think that, okay, V4 scan is back up. Wonder what happened there. Everyone just tripped seriously hard for a moment there. I mean, I don't blame you guys.
That's what everybody should be paying attention to. Does the network work? Has it been down any? Are there features left? Like I went over so many indicators. I tweeted the other day a bunch of indicators that are like real indicators. And yeah, sure, the significant GitLab updates, of course, that's an indicator too. But I'm not saying this is not like something that would trigger excitement, if you don't, because none of us really like know what's going on in the code right there. But there's plenty of indicators like new, I've been watching the certificates and new domains being issued and stuff like that. That's what I've been keeping my eye on, that I refresh like every 8 hours. I feel like I'm like, hey, do I see any mainnet certificates being issued, stuff like that? And I'll probably let people know when I start seeing stuff like that happen. But I think it's good to watch the GitLab, but I wouldn't get too excited over this type of stuff, because if we go with the theory that this has anything to do with it at all, and it is somehow related, the block height somehow related to Shanghai, then are you okay with the story that we're forking, the block height's forking from the Shanghai? Like, what significance does that have for anything?
Right.
I think I'd rather go with like we're launching on May 5th at 5:55, where I think that has almost as much merit as the snapshot happening at Shanghai. And wouldn't that be around V4? Because V4 took Shanghai update. I'm not sure like how old the data is, but I don't know. I don't think that V4, where we forked to V4, is going to be mainnet. I find that hard to believe. I don't, like, what reason? Like, I want someone to come up and tell me why Richard would do that. What is the game theory with that? Because I don't. You
mean going all the way back to the block height we did in like the end of January or beginning of February? That block height.
If that's what V4 was, I mean, because we took the update, so I guess they applied the EIP or PIP for Pulse. They applied that to Is that what V4 is? January data?
I thought these is a snapshot from somewhere in January. I could be.
Okay.
Oh man, I have to go. Honestly, I might be getting confused with V3 and V4, but I'm pretty sure. Ah man, I have to go back and check. I was sure until you put me on the spot here.
Yeah. No. I mean, either way, that's what I'm saying. It's like the story doesn't add up. Why would we do weeks beforehand? We totally could, but like, I need someone to tell me what the game theory is of why we would do that, other than everyone's like, oh, it'll get the hex people who are selling or something. I'm like, I don't think Richard gives a shit about hex people selling. I don't think he's setting up. He hasn't been working 2 years to try to screw people over who've been selling lately. I think he's okay with the market shaking out people naturally. Like, I think like that makes the most sense to me. So anyways, back to like scan 4, V4 scan is up to. Like some of the features I've talked about before on some of the AMAs for validating. It's like some of the features on the like withdrawals. If you didn't create a withdrawal address, I was talking to Gamma about this. The launch pad isn't updated to help you do that, which it is on Ethereum because they have their own service to do it. We don't have limit orders on PulseX. There's a lot of things that aren't there yet, and I haven't seen mainnet stuff come through on the public information stream. So that's what I'll be looking at more than anything with a Shanghai title. I'd be like, that just sounds like an update, not much of a launch update.
And I would agree. I mean, like, I don't have the prowess to go in and like disassemble the code at all, you know, but still, even just from what you're saying and just kind of looking at it as well, it's like, okay, well, maybe not quite. But on that note, because this is, you know, this is exciting.
One more thing. If you were going to be smart about this, if you were going to track where they would change, or if you wanted updates that would be relevant to the block fork height, I don't think they would do that. I think they would like do the commits right at the last minute like they did with V3. Mm-hmm. I think with V3, they just like, you know, we heard mainnet launch and then we saw the new releases on GitLab. So I don't think we're going to see the block fork come through this, first of all. But if we did, if I were going to be smart and try to track that, I would go and see where you would set those values in what files, and then either subscribe to those particular files, mm-hmm. or somehow only pay attention to those updates, because they're updating code that has nothing to do with actually changing the fork block height. Then, you know, that's not where the change would occur. So if I even thought that was a good way to look for information, I would do that and not just, you know, try to read the description of the updates. That's what the dev inside me says, at least.
Right. Well, I would take that and run with it if it's me, and I am me. So I'm going to take that and run with it. But I also want to ask, on that note too, like, if from everything you've seen with the update we're just talking about right now, then how close are we to mainnet? You know, in your I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm not going to pin you down and shake you and tell you, as somebody would say, I'm going to quote somebody,
mid-May.
Water pistol to your head. Mid-May. Water pistol. You heard it here first.
2 water pistols, mid-May.
2 water pistols.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been saying mid-May for the last few weeks, just because that's the only rangy, non-specific time frame that doesn't sound like a joke anymore. Mm-hmm. It honestly, I don't think Richard would do it because of to make it like, oh, I was right. I just think, funny enough, I like to imagine he kind of chuckles at like, huh, shit's actually going to launch in mid-May. Oh, I like that. Like, that's the reaction.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think is going on. Like, I don't think he's, you know, there's no master plan of doing it, but it's just like everything is, you know, most things are working. There's no critical, to my knowledge, there's no critical things that need to be updated. We did the parameter change, got that out of the way. That was great, mm-hmm. To increase the APY for validators and all that. I think, you know, he wants this to be the biggest and most successful airdrop launch ever, because if you have the opportunity to do that, why wouldn't you do that? You know, he goes mm-hmm. big. We all know that. And the banks are failing. I mean, like, the whole situation is adding up to money printer go burr, you know, from what I see, from the little news I read and the analysis I listen to. So everything, I always say this too, I never thought Richard was timing it, the launch, but I think he is happy it's going the way that it's going. He's happy that this feels, I think that, yeah, I would like to think he feels like this is everything happens for a reason. Like, this is the right time to do it when it's ready. Now, mm-hmm. Could it be mid-May? Could it be June? Could it be July? Could it be past summer? I don't know why it would be. Mm-hmm. At that point, like, if we launch at Christmas, I'd be like, all right, that sounds like timing, because it looks pretty ready right now. But yeah, to me, it feels like days away. It doesn't feel like mm-hmm. weeks anymore. It really mm-hmm. literally feels like days. And yeah, mid-May, whatever that turned out to be. I just hope I'm not in Miami when it happens, because
oh God, good luck.
I will not be able to sleep at all. I mean, it'd be great. The parties will be even more amazing, but oh my gosh, like, I want to be at my computer when this stuff happens, because, you know, pre-bridge and all that stuff. I mean, not saying I'm going to be making a lot of moves, but I want to be available, you know?
Totally. You never know, right? You never know.
Yeah.
And also too, oh God, I hate when your thought just is like, right, you can see the thought and then it just goes away. What was I thinking? Can you tell me what I was thinking, Max? What was I thinking? If you were me and you were sitting here in my chair and you were listening to you speak, what would you be thinking if you were me?
Probably about, you're going to tell somebody some alpha about some pre-bridge ratio trading.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to skip the thought and go to the next thing. That's perfect. Actually, I wanted to ask you, I guess, on that note, talking about mainnet. Oh, right. Thank you. You did remind me, actually. So we'll go there first. Like, I just want to say that your sentiment isn't alone. Like, you're not the lone wolf in that sentiment. You know, I've been hearing from a lot of people that I value and respect their opinions and their outlooks. And everyone's kind of sensing the same thing. You know, everyone's kind of thinking mid-May, days are a week or two away. Like we're somewhere within this short period that we have coming in front of us. Everyone's kind of thinking, that I'm listening to at least, that this is where we're headed. So I share the sentiment as well. And I don't think you're out to lunch. I don't think you're kind of just reaching for the stars. I think it's actually quite realistic at this point.
If I wasn't a validator, I would be asking validators, because these are the people who they're closest to the ground of, is the network running, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than the Pulsechain devs and whoever has access to them, the validators are seeing the bugs, if there are any. They feel, you know, they're seeing, like, are the clients working? Is everything, you know, is what's finished, what's not? They know what's going on. So I think that's another perspective I bring, is like, I'm not tweeting every day, Pulsechain could launch at any moment. I'm not, whoever's doing, you know, people are doing that, fine. You know, we need all kinds of different people in the ecosystem. But again, you know, if I were looking for someone to listen to, I would want to listen to Pulsechain devs, people who I know for sure are very close to them and have been reliable and consistently right, you know, being right a lot in their assessments, and people in validators, because those are the three groups of people who, you know, they can do hopium, but they can also do, hey, I'm seeing what's going on, and here's what I think. And if they're telling you the truth, and it may be a better source of information than just your Twitter feed of straight up hopium, which I see all the time.
So true. And if you do want someone on Twitter, on that note, that is a dev who's not Gamma DevOps, he's also great as well. But Brett EP, go follow him on Twitter. Breep. Yeah, exactly. Brett EP. Or is it Breet Ep? That's what everyone says. Well.
Brett something. That's his real name.
Brett EP or something like that. But
yeah, Brett EP.
Whatever it says.
When I read it online, I'm just like, Brett Ep. That's what I say in my head.
Yeah, 100%.
Brett Ep.
But seriously, guys, go follow him. He's one of the Pulsechain devs, and he over the last while, he's been quite active on Twitter. And if you just look for even his comments and his replies on tweets, you get a pretty good idea of what's going on in the back end and just how close we might be, updates going on. And yes, all of that pointing to, we can all smell the launch. Like, it's that close. It's right there. And I wanted to lead this into the next part too, before we get a little bit more into the philosophy side of things, is I know that you're pragmatic and you're looking at things from more of a opportunistic but realistic kind of perspective. What are some predictions that you have for the launch of Pulsechain? Doesn't have to be anything with price. It can be game theory wise. It can be liquidity pools. It could be just community stuff. Like, what predictions do you have, if any, about the launch of Pulsechain?
You know, I'm going to give you something good on the question. I just want to preface it with, I don't like giving predictions specifically, because I don't like to be wrong. And I feel like predictions are just a great way to be wrong a lot.
Or a great way to learn.
Yeah, I guess.
To learn how you weren't right, I guess.
I guess, but you could just do that by, like, you know, keeping them to yourself, writing them down instead of making them public. Just another way of thinking about it. But anyways, I think that, but I'm going to give you something good.
Okay.
There's all these different things that I think would be very cool to happen. Whether they happen or not, no idea. But I want to imagine that when Pulsechain launches, all the people from the other ecosystems are actually going to come check their wallets and see their coins and do something with them. Whether they dump them all or whatever it is, I feel like that is just a great onboarding for a ton of new people. And so, like, that part is what I'm hoping happens. And then the influencers, all the big influencers are in. We got Ivan on Tech. We got what's his name? I'm not gonna name all the people who were on the fence or not talking about it or whatever. They all want to have Richard on live stream ASAP. Like, they want to hear from this guy. And that's been giving me just a smile lately, man. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, this is real. Like, you get people who have 300K, 500K, million followers. They have their groups. They have the people who follow them for better or for worse. You have them talking good things about something that's about to launch. I think that's fantastic. And I think that, you know, I've said before, even saying last year, like, I think the community will double I mean, like 6 months to a year after launch, I think we will double. And that's hard to do because we're small, but we're like beefy community. Like we got people on the ground doing a lot of cool stuff. We thick, exactly. And if we triple that thickness or we double that thickness and we have even more big brains, imagine adding another Alex from Hedron into the ecosystem.
Oh my God.
Imagine adding, Dipcatcher, Gold Key, like all the founders. Imagine adding I always want to say the wrong word, but Buck from Fiat. I can't say his other name because I get it too confused. Imagine adding, like him and all the other big brains in the ecosystem. There's a ton of other great founders too. But the people who are building stuff to make Hex great with the scrappy, just, small but mighty ecosystem that we've been chugging along with the last 3 years, imagine that doubling or even 50% larger big brains. What other stuff is going to be built? Like what is the case for this going poorly? Somebody tell me like a legit case of like how this is, tell me the dystopia that can become the Hex Pulsechain Richard community. I don't want to dare the universe. I'm not trying to tempt fate right now, but I don't see it. I only see the freaking Pluto, man. Like it's crazy. So the influencers are in. I could see them bringing a lot of people. The people checking their coins is what I'm super excited. I'm excited to people who are in all the other coins to start tweeting about their copies on Pulsechain and what if they're worth money? What if on Pulsechain they're paired, they get bridged? People, if you pair certain coins to pair it to another coin and the other coin has value, logically that coin's going to have some value, right? Because it's a ratio. So I just don't see how that. I don't know. I can't see that going poorly. Like I see that going like at least okay, if not extremely well. And that doesn't mean they're all going to come over and use all the infrastructure and all that stuff. At least not initially. But it means there's money and people see money. They go crazy for airdrops in their ecosystem, let alone all the other ecosystems. So I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing that happen. And see, I'm like framing these predictions as like what I hope to happen. It's not.
Yeah, I noticed. I was just going to say, what do you mean hope? This is a prediction.
Exactly. It is not a prediction. It is what I hope to see happen, which could be true. You never know. And I'll say one more thing. So the amount of on the price, I'll talk about just that's the biggest thing on people's mind is there going to be a dump? When's there going to be a dump? If or when, what time frame? Should you have dry powder? Should you have Hex to get the copy? That's what everyone's trying to figure out right now. I don't think there's, for me, I've struggled with it too. We talked about this the other day with money printer strategies. Like I asked you and Dylan, do you have a plan? Do you have like this if else scenarios? If you see this happening, are you going to do this? And I've really been trying to formulate that myself of, I've been trying to write down like what, kind of game plan for if I see this happening, how I'm going to take advantage of it. Or if not, like what are the numbers I need to see in order to make a move, either buy or sell, and what time frame is and if they're going to be a dump, what time frame is that going to happen? How am I going to prepare for that? So whatever happens and whatever time frame this thing plays out, I hope the market conditions lately have, not good for the average, person in the Western world, at least, America, Canada, and otherwise. But for crypto, I'm hoping there's this just storm of like, we need better money. We need to put our dry powder somewhere, and all these other assets are not doing it for us. So there's this thing that's been down for a long time. And within that thing, there's our things, there's our stuff. And when they see all the money printers and all the amazing stuff that we have, and it's new and it's shiny and they want in, I hope we are able to complete the story, complete the book. I almost like feel like, I don't say like writing a Bible, but like I want this story to go full circle. I want Richard to have the glory. I want all the people who are making these products, all the founders. I want, I hope Hedron goes to the moon. I hope all the stuff that people are building that has utility and has value and has these basic principles that just, again, get you to play healthy, fair games. I hope they do tremendously well. And we're never looked at again as a scam ecosystem, as this, oh, wait, blah, 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 all this like, I hope it's kind of like this proving point of like, I think Richard, like we talked about before, I think Richard's going to go to longevity at some point. He's going to pivot at the right time. But I want his story and these products, and I want his story to be complete. Like I hope his story kind of completes on the crypto side, and then the community kind of not takes over, but is able to take what has been built and push it further, and it's kind of self-sustaining. That's what I hope happens, and that's, to me, that's a beautiful future, and I'm in it to win it, man. So that's yeah, it gets me excited just thinking about it.
I love it. I love that take. And I think it's actually pretty likely, if you compare other ecosystems to what this is, this is going to have a crazy focus. And I mean, it is going to kind of be detached from a lot of the stuff and focused on what is needed in crypto. And the ethos is there. The principles are there. The community is there. I mean, we have a level of adoption already. We just need that next level, which I love UFO to go's comment here, which is a great point as well, which is the cheap fees will attract mullets worldwide when Gwei hits overdrive in bull market in a bull market. So look, already right now, the mullets are not happy because the Gwei is sky high. Like I've been seeing people have like $30 transaction fees just for buying hex. I've seen $100. I think a guy in one of the chats we're in, he was saying I think he posted like $177 for a transaction earlier today. Like Gwei
Dude, I've been
is
pissed.
high.
I've been pissed. Yesterday, I had to do some transactions, and yesterday and the day before, and I'm just like, what is this crap? Like Pulsechain. Seriously, that's the first time like lately I've been like, we've all forgot, right? We all forgot about the Ethereum fees until they come back. And then I was like, man, this is ridiculous. I don't want to pay 10% of my stack just to get this transaction done while it's on my mind. Like, that's ridiculous. So it solves a problem.
It definitely does. And it can't come soon enough at this point. Like the mullets are not going to take it forever. And I think the mullets, because of this, or if you don't have a mullet like me and RHMAX, you're probably going to love Pulse. You're going to go to Pulsechain, because if Ethereum gets a crazy amount of volume moving through the chain in terms of transactions, like if these meme coins keep popping off, everyone keeps flooding the meme coins, certain tokens that are basically very heavy on gas keep getting utilized more and more. There's more development on them, and they keep eating up transactions. I mean, you add all this together with a bull market when the volume really spikes. I mean, man, what a better time for something like Pulsechain to launch than before that, or at the onset when everyone's feeling the effects, and then had that relief of like, oh my God, there's a solution here. I think we're going to see a massive flow if we keep seeing the trajectory in fees. I think a lot of people are going to be like, wait, there's a thing that's ETH, but it's the same but different, and I have all my coins. There's a crazy community. Like, I can't imagine that a large percentage of those people don't want to come over and at least say hi. And when you say hi in the Pulsechain community, you're gonna be like, whoa, there's a lot of people here and they're all really cool. Maybe I'll stay for a party or two, and next thing you know, you own a bunch of tokens.
I mean, that's the carrot with the airdrops too. It's like, next thing you know, you get the free airdrop. Next thing you know, you're promoting it. Oh, you're not talking about my bag. You're fighting my bag about not talking about it. But I want to make a point on the people coming over for the copies too. I think you can separate them into two different categories. So you have the retail side, who are just, have whatever, $1,000 worth of ship or whatever it is. And then you have the whales on that side. And the whales are the one I think are going to determine how many people come over, and of course the value, because they start, bridging and pairing and participating where they smell new money, which they sound pretty incentivized to do so. Then we need that to happen. And then that's going to bring in all the other people, because the whales, maybe a lot of them are streamers, maybe they have influence. They're going to say, hey, there's a new network. Here's exactly how to do it. So that's why a lot of people, like to hate the influencers and say, oh, finally they're here. Where you been forever? I think, sometimes I'll say it like this. Sometimes you got to choose violence, and sometimes you got to choose funding Jim. The approach of like, he's friends with everybody. He sees the bigger picture. And sometimes you got to, you can still keep your integrity and don't forget, people did this and that, but look at the bigger picture. I think zooming out and being like, having more people on our side is beneficial in a lot of ways. And I think you got to pick your battles there too.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very well, yeah, I love the way you articulated that. And I'm looking at the time too, and I think we have about 15 minutes left before we cap off where we wanted to end here. So I wanted to offer this to you. Do you want to, what we could do is we could kind of ask, I have one more question I could ask on this front, and we could kind of just tail off, or we could go into the philosophy side and try to cram that in 15 minutes if you want, whatever you're feeling. And we can
You
go
trying to lose
that.
everyone? We got 100 people. You trying to lose everyone?
We got 100
Talk
people.
about
Let's see how
mindset
fast we can
stuff.
lose 100.
We're about to go from 98 to 64 or 69.
Yeah, real quick.
So.
Real quick.
No,
what do you
I mean,
feel now?
Whatever you want to do, man. I mean, I'm down to talk about. If we do philosophy, I think the edge, maybe that's something we could get in.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? Let's, because we started on some philosophy. We kind of did some validator stuff. We talked about Pulsechain. Any closing thoughts on the Pulsechain side that you want to leave with the viewers before we go into the philosophy side?
If you made it this far, hang in there. Got the hang in there cat picture in my mind right now. Like, we're all sort of like hanging in there. A lot of people are sadder than others. For me, I mean, I think I was talking to you about it. Like, I think the bottom for the community would seem to be January, February, where people are like, oh, I'm tired of this. All my coins are down. And Richard, Fat Man Refund. Like, that was like the height of Fat Man Refund. And I don't know. Like, I was talking to somebody on Twitter today. I just mentioned, like, he's like, oh, I can't sleep because, it's so close. And I'm just like, don't lose your peace over this stuff. Like, it's not, that's one thing to separate yourself. I'm doing philosophy and Pulsechain at the same time right now.
Let's go. Nice segue.
But it's like, there's things you can't control. And I try to avoid, it's harder. It's not always easy to do, but things out of your control, you shouldn't act like you have control. Like, you shouldn't wish yourself into anxiety because you think if you, that you have some kind of control over them. So I think separating, what's that one prayer that's like, give me the strength to, control what I can control and forget the rest, and the difference to know the difference, or the strength to know the difference, or wisdom to know the difference. I totally butchered that quote, but it's like, know what is within your control and focus on that. And if you want to change it, do that. But also understand that Pulsechain launching is nowhere within your control. No matter how much you tweet at Richard, no matter how much you follow KDP, no matter like how many AMAs you show up for my validator stuff, and me putting little gems in here or there about my experience and the technical side of it too, or Gamma or anyone else, you're not going to change anything. No one's making decisions based on what you or I or anyone else in this community does, other than the guy calling the shots. So I use that to give yourself peace. Don't use that to be like, oh, I'm useless. I don't have any control. Other people are just like making all this. Don't turn that into, let me distract myself because this amazing thing is launching and I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be happy about it. And I don't know when it's going to come, but it's going to be here, and it's going to be good times after that. But go figure out other stuff to do in the meantime. Like, literally distract yourself. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 years. Distracting myself, learning, getting better. And when it's ready, face melting time. Melting.
I love that. I love that advice. That's great, man. And on that note too, finding out, you wrote this in our agenda here, and I'd love to just read it real quick here. Sure. It's important to figure out what your edge is. If you don't know what it is, how can you expect to outperform the average Twitter follower? And if you don't know what an edge is, you probably don't have one, but that's okay. Go get one. So you talked about here, you think edge is deeply understanding game theory. Can you elaborate on the edge? Because I'm sure there's a whole lot here, and I'd love to hear you elaborate on this.
Yeah, I think I was talking about Maxim with this before too, Maxim and/or Jake. Having an edge is your ability to differentiate yourself and, again, separate yourself from the average person in whatever you're competing for. And for example, it may not look like a competition, but at the end of the day, everyone has their plan. Everyone has their wants, their needs. They are trying to accumulate things. They're trying to sell at a certain price. They're trying to figure out how to turn this crypto into, like, we say life-changing wealth, but everyone just focuses on, oh, never sell, never sell. And it's like, that's not life-changing wealth. You have to take profits at some point, but it's sacrilegious to say that. Like, I'm the RH Maximus, and I understand when people are selling hex, I don't go like, oh, look at that dirty whale, you're making my bags go down. I'm like, yeah, that happens, and it's their decision. Like, whatever. Like, literally, I have no emotional response when I see people selling hex and the price goes down. Like, very rarely where I'm like, oh, mother. And if I do, that's because I have some plan to take profit at some point, and they're effing my plan up right now. So, but that is pretty rare when that happens. So, and catch yourself, you're trading. What's Richard say? What's everyone in the community who has any common sense say? Don't trade. So, within that nuance. So I think the edge, and I could say that, like, my edge, I think, is technology. I can understand, break down systems, stuff we talked about in the beginning. I'm able to get access to people like yourself, like other people. I'm glad that people enjoy talking to me and that I could be accommodating, and that I can, kind of win-win. Maybe they can learn from me, I can learn from them. And I can showcase their work. I can do the clips, and I try to get them traffic and all that stuff too, when they have good ideas that I think are worth talking about. So that edge for me has enabled me to learn more about Max. I've had Dip Catcher on the show like 5 times, 5 or 6, 7 times. I feel like I have to count, but it's been somewhere in that range. And I've learned, like, when I first heard about Maximus, I didn't know anything about it. I could not understand, what are they talking? What are these derivatives? What does it mean to do what is a trustless stake? Like, all these simple things that I see today. I mean, some of them are still not simple. Like those dudes create more tickers that provide value that I've ever seen. Like, you guys go create more tickers. Let them do it. Like, I'm cool with that.
They're machines.
It's crazy, but having access to those people is an edge for me, because I can pick their ear. I can understand their products more, and I can see if it works for me in my particular plan. So that's a couple of my edges that I uniquely have, or at least in a smaller group. I'm in the maybe the 1% group of people who are able to have those different things put together to create, to give myself an advantage over a lot of people who are just, they got day jobs and they don't have a lot of time to spend on this stuff. And unfortunately, I've dedicated enough time to do it as well. So you got to have both. And for you, like, I think when I look at you and you're like, oh, what's your edge? I would say game theory, your ability to break stuff down, make it simple, and then kind of use that for your plan as well. And a lot of people, they can't understand these mechanics behind Hedron. And I get it. I'm like, I struggle with it sometimes too. I struggle with Icosa. I'm like, what is this positive feedback loop? I remember we talked about it once, but like, oh God, how does this part work? And it's easy to forget. So I think, your superpower or your edge is like kind of understanding these fundamentals well enough where you can actually tell people about it and synthesize information in a quality way. So I think everyone just needs to find their edge, because again, if you don't have one or you don't know what it is, then how are you going to outperform the average person? If you aren't better at them than something else, then you're either the same or worse. And in my experience, I don't see a lot of people who are the same or worse getting wealthy. They're usually, the outliers, the people who do much better in one vertical or another, one business or another, one asymmetric risk or another. So that's how I define the edge.
I love that. And I think, in today's day and age, from my experience too, I think, and if I'm taking what you're saying and running with the idea of edge, edge comes from focus and, taking the options on the table that you have and trimming them down. This is something that I can speak to. It's actually really hard for me to, focus on cryptographics and focus on streaming and focus on crypto, because I was someone who, like, I naturally, I pick up things to a level, like, I feel like I'm okay at them or good at them enough to, like, participate in them and have a lot of fun fairly quickly. And so I have all these things that I'm constantly juggling in terms of, I could do this, I could play this, I could focus on this. And I loved music. Music was like my thing growing up from the time I was 12 years old until I was, before that, basically from the first time I played piano at like 6 till basically about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was either writing music, and then I finally learned how to record music, and then I learned how to produce music, and then get into like DJing, and then I got back into, like, it enveloped my entire life. And I was still pulled in all these different directions. Like, I was still playing golf at the time, I was still doing other sports, and then I couldn't figure out how to get that edge, how to get a leg up, how to get anything going. And what the defining factor was for me was making a decision to commit to one thing and forgo the rest in terms of committing to focus. Like, I still love music. I play the piano every once in a while. I play guitar whenever I can. I don't allow it though to take up my focus. And what I mean by that is, like, I literally sold all of my music stuff. I had 2 guitars that were my babies. I had a full studio setup. I sold everything so that I could go in on focus on crypto and focus on this channel and growing all this and being a part of this community. And I think that was one of the sole reasons, for me at least, where I got any edge that I could possibly get. I could learn what my edge is. I could fall into what would be maybe my edge. And I think that's an important conversation, is when it comes to finding an edge, you can't have an edge if you're around, in the certain, if you're covering a lot of things, you're round, you don't have an edge. A round object doesn't have an edge. You have to be focused, and you have to be sharp, and you have to be finely tuned for one specific purpose, more or less, if you really want to find like a major edge. And I'm not even someone who's found a crazy edge, but even for me, I think that in my experience alone, that's really resonated and really taught me just how important it is to allow one thing to be the focus in order to get that edge.
I think you would like Naval a lot if you ever want to deep dive into someone, because you hit it right there. That's one of his quotes too, is the universe is set up in a way that if you want and focus on like one thing, like, you put everything else behind, but if you want one thing, you'll get it. Like, if you really want it, like, you're willing to sacrifice for it, you put everything else secondary. The universe is set up in a way where you can get that one thing, but you got to forget the rest of the stuff. You got to deprioritize it in some way. And that's exactly right, man. I believe that. I
need to read Naval, it sounds like. That's my big takeaway from this last.
Dude, yeah. My favorite book in the world. I hate to, I'm on RH Maximus. I love Sci-Vive, but at the same time, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. That book, I've listened to it 6 times, I want to say. 6. I used to listen to it going to sleep. I mean, it is that profound and that meaningful, and that kind of programming you want to program yourself to understand, and just beautiful ideals. And let me put up let's probably do that, because that's
and while you're doing that, I want to add one last thing I realized to this whole equation. The one thing I definitely didn't see coming, which was kind of extremely difficult to deal with when I was developing or falling into this path that I'm in now, is like, you don't know you have an edge until you do. And sometimes there's this valley between, like, you're at a peak or you're at a plateau or something where you're comfortable and you have all these options. And then as soon as you dive into one side, you free fall essentially into this place where, like, you don't know where you're going. You don't know how to do anything, but you're focused and you're learning. And so, like, I ran through so many hurdles trying to figure this all out. And like, this is, I make my living off of being cryptographics, and I didn't have a way to make income when I first started this. And this is what I focused on. And man, I can tell you, it was hard. And I'm not planning on becoming, I don't want to be wealthy from this. I want to just, support myself and support the community and be a nice, fair trade-off where the value I give is fairly equal to the support that I get in terms of, like, being able to sustain myself. But man, it was so difficult. And I almost gave up like 2-3 times. Like, I was like, I'm done. I don't know if I can do this. I need to go back to like a 9-to-5. But I kept being like, I can't, I don't have it in me. And I kept forcing through. And there was times where it was incredibly hard. And now I'm so glad that I held through and stuck with it. And even just for the fact of, being as connected as I am to guys like you and the community, and being and feeling like I'm contributing, it's been so worth it to be able to find out just how important what you're talking about in terms of the edge is. And that it doesn't necessarily take, it sometimes takes a while. Like, it's taken over a year for me to get any sort of traction, it felt like, So I just wanted to throw that in there, because that was one of the big lessons, that it's not, the edge doesn't come right away. The edge comes from a lot of work whenever you find even a slight edge.
So Richard's favorite quote, persistence, right? Like, nothing takes the place of persistence. You reminded me of that. And also another Naval quote, a taste of freedom can make you unemployable. I've struggled with that so much, because I still, as of today, I still have a full-time job. And, you know, I said, I've been working in tech for over a decade, and I don't want to anymore. I'm done. I'm done. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. And, you know, I've built up my own type of wealth. You know, I could probably do it without crypto if I really, you know, put my assets in the right direction. But I want it all. I want to have everything that I want within reason. And crypto has been the best way I've found to put myself in position to do that. But once you get red pilled, man, like once you start thinking that you don't need someone to tell you what to do anymore, and you want to work on your own projects. And, you know, I've done consulting and stuff as well throughout my career. But once you get to a point where you're like, I'm done. I have to make this work. I need it. You don't just want it. It's not about wanting. Wanting is almost superficial. You need it. Like, you know, the quote's like, you need it like air to breathe. You need the change. You need for this to work. And once you have that need, once your want becomes a need, persistence kicks in, and you can make it happen. So that's what's helped me get through it. But it's hard, man. It's hard when you have these two dichotomies. When you want it to happen ASAP, just like Pulsechain launch, you want it to happen ASAP, but it's not happening. It's not really within your control. If you want to do it the correct way, you gotta delay gratification, but you gotta have persistence. But if you need it, you can do it.
Yep. And the lessons you learn along the way while waiting for that thing to show up is just like phenomenal. It never turns out the way you think it's going to turn out, but when it finally turns up in front of you, as you have been planning for and working for, you're so prepared for that, and you're so like grateful, and it's just so much that comes out of that process, like from getting there too.
Dude, are you sure you haven't read Naval? Like you're like almost quoting his stuff. It's like that one's like
not even once. I swear to God.
That one, like I had another quote in my mind for that one too. It was like, oh yeah, get rich first and then figure out what you want to do. That's another great one. It's like, you don't need to have a plan with what you want to do. But it's a lot easier to plan when you don't have, you know, you're not working 40, 60 hours a week. So get rich first and then figure out what you want to do. But you can't do what you want to do unless you get rich first. So you got to do that first.
Yeah, that's a beautiful quote, actually. And I could not agree more. I think that's a perfect place.
You know what to do. The book's right there. Everyone, it's my favorite book. Besides High it's my favorite book. So yeah, everyone go
check this one out. I'm gonna get the Kindle. I'm gonna download this guy. I'm gonna read it over the next few days here. I'm gonna bring it down to actually, maybe I should get the paperback so I can put it on the back shelf in the office there. Also,
it works beautiful with white. It's white cover. So there you go.
That's perfect, actually. And hey, I'm going to throw this out there. I have a business address that I can throw out to anyone that wants to ship something, like if it's from Hex merch, or if you make something like Hex Pulsechain related PulseX, that would look great on the back here, that you want to, like, if you want to show something off. It's not sponsored. I'm not taking any money for it, but if you want to ship something, just like show off your stuff and make this background look awesome, then you can definitely do that. You can fire me an email. You can DM me on Twitter. Go to cryptographics.com, send me an email. We can talk about best way to do that. But yeah, this book though would be awesome back there. And
I mean, I got the audiobook. I've read a lot of the paperback as well, but I love audiobooks, and I've seriously listened to the audiobook like 6 times. It's that good. Like, to me, it speaks to me. Like, some things just speak to you, you know?
I will check it out then. If you're talking that highly of it, I'm going to check it out. I'll buy it tonight. I will have it on its way, and I will get reading it within hopefully the next week.
Good move.
Awesome, man. Well, dude, this has been a blast. This has been a lot of fun. It's about damn time we had you on the Cryptographics channel.
I'll take it whenever you want me on, man. It's really good to talk to you. Like I said, I want to do more streams with you. I think there's a lot of people who have a lot of this, you know. I like to talk about mindset. I like to wave philosophy into wealth creation in crypto. And that's the most underrated thing. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're early. It doesn't matter if you get in this ecosystem early. If you sell on a 2x, or you lose your keys, or you can't control your impulses, then what's it matter? It all comes back to your mindset. It doesn't matter. Nothing else. Like, literally, mindset is your number one thing, and people just they don't spend enough time on it. And I want to have these discussions because selfishly I like to learn from them, but also I like other people being able to listen in. And, you know, I think one of the greatest compliments you can get, at least for me, is somebody telling you later on, man, you know, I listened to your stream, or I read your blog, or whatever it was, something you created, and it changed my life, or it put me on this other path. Because when I'm listening, I'm not putting myself on the stage of Naval and Hermosa or any of those guys, but they have done that for me. They have changed the course of my life, what I've consumed from them. Richard, you know, of course, as well. So I think that's one of the greatest compliments, at least I could receive, is, you know, you've helped somebody in that way. And I think you're more likely to do that having these kind of conversations than you are the Hopium streams. I think you've got a better chance of doing it with these type of conversations, my personal opinion.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And we will be bouncing back and forth between each other's channels, and we'll keep having these conversations like this, get other guests on. We'll go deep on this. It's so much fun. I love the Hopium stuff too, but there's something else. Like when we go into these topics, that's where I really, really, really fall into that passionate conversation. It just changes for me. So I can't wait. I'm excited, whether it's on your channel or mine. And on that note, thank you so much, my brother, for being on here. Where can everybody find you so that they can get your videos, updates, whatever you're saying, your blog, obviously?
Yeah, so it's RHMaximus, at RHMaximus, on all the platforms except YouTube. YouTube is at RHMax, and the blog is rhmax.org. That's where I have a lot of my posts and long form conversations about stuff. I shared earlier my GitHub, which is rhmax.org, literally like spelled out, rhmax.org on GitHub. If you want to see the Pulsechain validator stuff. I'm most active on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram may come back up eventually. We'll see, especially with the trending stuff going on. I may have to do some of that myself now. But yeah, it's on Twitter. I'm most active, and I can't stop tweeting lately. I think there's some excitement in the air.
Yeah.
Well, or streaming for that matter.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome, man. Well, thanks again. Chat, thank you guys for being here. If you haven't already, go ahead, just smash the like. If you want to subscribe for more content like this, go right ahead. All that jazz. I'm going to leave it right there. This has been an awesome stream, dude. I'm going to end it. And yeah, thank you again. Thank you, chat. I look forward to the next one. Have a great Thursday evening or Friday morning, wherever it is for you guys. And we'll catch you guys very soon in the next one. Peace and have a great night.